Hello students, today we are going to start lesson 3 from your class 6 NCERT supplementary reader A Pact with the Sun. The name of the lesson is The Shepherd's Treasure. The Shepherd's Treasure is a famous folk tale of Iran. This story throws light upon the importance of human values like honesty, wisdom and humanity. And by following such high values and principles, how a shepherd became a governor. Let us understand the story by summarizing through comic strips. In a village in Iran, there once lived a shepherd. He was very poor. He did not even have a small cottage of his own. He had never been to school or learned to read and write, for there were very few schools in those days. Though poor and uneducated, this shepherd was very wise. He understood people's sorrows and troubles and helped them face their problems with courage and common sense. Many people came to him for advice. Soon he became famous for his wisdom and friendly nature. The king of that country heard about him and thought of meeting him. Disguised as a shepherd and riding on a mule, one day the king came to the cave where the wise shepherd lived. As soon as the shepherd saw the traveler coming towards the cave, he rose to welcome him. He took the tired traveler inside the cave, gave him water to drink, and a share of his own meager meal. The king rested for the night in the shepherd's cave, and he was greatly impressed by the shepherd's hospitality and wise conversation. Though still tired, the king decided to depart the next morning. He thanked the shepherd for his kind hospitality. The shepherd looked straight into the traveler's eyes. He addressed him as "Your Majesty." The king was astonished as well as pleased. "He is indeed very wise," he thought to himself. "I need people like him to work for me." And the king appointed this humble shepherd as the governor of a small district. Although he rose to power and dignity, the shepherd remained as humble as ever. People loved and honored him for his wisdom, sympathy, and goodness. He was kind and just to one and all. His fame as a fair and wise governor soon spread throughout the country. Now the governors of other provinces grew terribly jealous of him and began to talk to the king against him. They said he is very dishonest and keeps for himself part of the money that he collects as tax from the people. Why does he always carry with him an iron chest? Perhaps he carried in it the treasure that he had secretly collected. After all, he was an ordinary shepherd and could behave no better. At first the king did not pay attention to these reports. But how long could he ignore these governors and their endless stories about the shepherd? One thing was certain: the king discovered the new governor did carry an iron chest with him all the time. So the new governor was summoned to the palace. He came riding on his camel, and to everyone's delight, the famous iron chest was there, fastened securely behind him on the camel's back. Now the king was angry, and he thundered, "Why do you always carry that iron chest with you? What does it contain?" The shepherd governor smiled and asked his servant to bring in the chest. How eagerly the people standing around him waited for the shepherd to be found out. But how great was their astonishment, and even of the king himself, when the chest was opened. No gold or silver or jewels, but an old blanket and a turban were all that came out. The shepherd took it in his hands with pride and explained to the king that it was his only treasure. But the king was curious to know the reason for carrying such an old blanket, to which the shepherd replied in a very dignified and respectful manner that the blanket was his oldest friend. In times of need, it would protect him. If the king wished, he could take his new clothing, but the blanket was very dear to him. The king felt very happy to hear his words. The governors were ashamed. Now it is clear to everyone that the shepherd was the humblest and the wisest man there. Feeling very proud, the king made him the governor of a much bigger district that same day. So, dear students, in this story, we see that a shepherd rose to fame with wisdom and humbleness, and even after becoming famous, he remained as humble as he was earlier. So, this story teaches us to be polite and humble in every situation. Hope you all have understood.